guest tonight is Mr. Adewonyi Emmanuel, and the topic we are treating this evening is negligence and liabilities in surgical practice. Negligence and liability in surgical practice. So, very quick one. Our guest speaker, which is Mr. Adewonyi Emmanuel, will be taking us the presentation this evening. And I want you to sit tight and listen, because it is promised to be educative, to be enlightening, and to be an enriching moment. So, first off, who is Mr. Adewonyi Emmanuel? Our guest speaker, I will just give a little citation before it comes in. I believe we can all hear me.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Adewonyi Emmanuel Alaba is an advanced perioperative nurse. Education, he had his registered nursing at School of Nursing, Bowe University Teaching Hospital, Ogbomoso. Then he's a registered perioperative nurse, and he did that at Perioperative Nursing School, University College Hospital, Ibadan. Then also his BNSC, that's Bachelor's in Nursing Science, at the LAUTECH, that's Ladoke Akintola University Technology Hospital, Ogbomoso. He's a man who has served in many capacities within and outside nursing profession. He is the current treasurer of the Operating Room Global Nigeria chapter, and he is also the project director for Nurses Revolution Nigeria. His work experience: he has worked as a general nurse and perioperative nurse in both private and government organizations. Also, as a community volunteer in healthcare, he is currently working at Ura Care Multi-Specialist Hospital, Victoria Island, Lagos. That is our guest speaker tonight. So, Mr. Adewonyi Alaba Emmanuel, over to you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel. Good evening, everyone. Let me say good evening from Nigeria. And wherever you are listening or watching from, good evening to you, or good afternoon, or good morning. Thank you for that introduction. I think I logged in late. I'm sorry. I quickly need to scrub out from a surgery to come and do this presentation. So I'll be very brief, because we are still on. We're having a anatomy plus we are dealing with aneurysm. So I'm going to be brief. So this evening, are we all hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you. We can hear you.
Right. I can hear you.
All right. So we'll be talking about negligence and liability in surgical practice. So by the way of introduction, and I will just say a general meaning of definition of negligence, and what do we understand by medical or surgical negligence. So in general terms, when we say negligence, it's a failure of to exercise appropriate or ethical rule care expected to be exercised among specific circumstances. So we can say negligence involves harm caused by failing to act as a form of carelessness. Possibly, when we say negligence, so it's something that is preventable. So, and what we say it is what we say is it's preventable is something that we can avoid. So what we say with the core concept of negligence is that people should exercise reasonable care in their actions by taking account of the potential harm that they might forcibly cause to other people or property. So when we say negligence in general terms is maybe we can use the word nonchalant attitude, or what you're supposed to do, you just use maybe kind of nonchalant attitude, you don't care, I don't care attitude, and majority of us will fall victim of this. So someone who suffer loss caused by another negligence may be able to sue for damage to compensate for their harm. Such loss may include physical injury. So due to this nonchalant attitude, I don't care attitude, our negligence, there may be damage, there may be loss, and it ranges from a physical injury, harm to property, psychiatric illness, economic loss, and so on and so forth, emotional damage. So this is extent at which our nonchalant attitude sometimes, or negligence as it is, or let me say I don't care attitude. I want to be using that word so that it will be ringing, because I know majority of us will fall victim of this so many times. It's not our fault, maybe because the workload or the work environment might cause us to have that attitude sometimes. So we can say the law on negligence may be assessed in general terms according to a 5-part model, which include assessment of duty, breach, actual cause, proximate cause, and damage. You are still coming back to talk more on that. So it's majorly the elements of negligence. So one would say, before you can say someone is negligent, there's some pertinent 4 things that must be touched, or that must be that I can say you must have something to hold on when you want to say, okay, this person is guilty of negligence of duty, or surgical negligence. So there are 4 elements, 4 important elements for us to before we can establish a negligence claim. There must be a 4 element. The first one is duty. That is, the individual or defendant has a duty. For example, you are on duty. I just want to make it a sequence now. You are on duty. You understand? So you have responsibility to carry out a duty, or you have responsibility to do something. So that's number 1. So I want to say, before we can establish that anyone is guilty of being accused of negligence in medical and surgical practice. So number 1 is that you have to have a duty. That is, you are on duty. Then number 2 is breach. So the defendant breaches that duty through an act, or culpable omission. So that means there's a breach in the duty you have. Then number 3 is that there must be a damage. That is, because of your attitude, because you breach the duty, you are at work, you understand, but you breach duty, you are not doing what you're supposed to do, maybe due to whatever reason you have, that we can term as negligence. So the third one is the damage. So as a result of the act of omission, that is neglecting your duty, so there's a damage. Then the causation, the injury to the victim is a reasonable foreseeable consequence on defendant act. So that is to say, the causation, that the injury you cause to the plaintiff is a reasonable foreseeable one, and is a consequence that cannot even be covered. So these are the 4 elements for one to be guilty of negligence. So if you can hold on to these 4 elements on an individual, so we can say the person is guilty of being negligence. So what do we mean by surgical negligence? This refers to events in which events in which a mistake is made during the process of a surgical process. So it is a mistake made during or even after surgery. So, and most of these mistakes are not meant to happen. Or, like, I know some people in their mind will be like, sometimes it will happen. But if we really take good caution, most of these mistakes should not happen, especially when we know that we are dealing with life. So when we say surgical negligence, it's mistake that happen during or after surgery. So then this surgical negligence, the injury cause can range from being minor to fatal in some very unfortunate case. As our maybe dosing off, as our maybe, oh, I need to give this, I need to work on this, and we just I will do it later, or I'm not, though I'm not care, I don't care, our I don't care attitude. So it can cause injury range from minor to fatal in some unfortunate case. Surgical negligence definition in legal term is a physical or psychological harm caused by a surgeon wrongdoing. I want to raise the word wrong. I want to raise the word surgeons alone. So surgical negligence definition according to legal term is physical or psychological harm caused by theater users wrongdoing. So even if you are a cleaner in the theater, you have a role to play. Even if you are a technician, anesthesia technician, or whatever, scrub technician, or whatsoever role you have, so far you are working in the operating room. So when we say surgical, it's not only surgeon alone, because everybody will be held accountable. So there could be many reasons for this, from lack of training to surgical delay. So we have a lot of reasons that can cause this surgical negligence in the operating room. Some people are not well trained, even as a surgical personnel. It's not only surgeon alone. Some nurses are not well trained. Some technologists are not well trained. Some cleaner are not well trained in terms of cleaning the theater. So, and this is a point that the legal people are looking at to get money. So I just want to move to the next slide. So negligence has two broad meaning. One, it is the name for a cause of action, that is a lawsuit for negligence or theory of negligence. And the second one, it is a certain kind of conduct, that is negligent conduct where one has breached a certain duty owes to another. So it is our responsibility, so far we are on duty to discharge our care, our whatsoever we are being assigned to do it accordingly. So the OR nurse must act as a reasonable, yes. Nurse will nurse will, under the same condition similar can present patient from harm. As we all know, as a nurse, as a theater user, everybody, we are all patient advocates. So, and we will hold accountable for whatever action we take. And at the court of law, they will always say there's no excuse. The only saving grace is when you have evidence to prove and to talk it out at the court of law, and you'll be free. But when we don't have evidence for what we are doing, when we don't give all our best at what we are doing, sometimes we just take it with levity. And so we should always have it at the back of our mind, that we are also responsible for every action we take. So that is surgical negligence. So what are the causes of negligence in the operating room? We have series of causes, or series of causes of surgical negligence. We have improper training of personnel. Like I said, even the cleaner and the theater, where they have improper training, they can cause a lot of havoc. So when you say they should clean, there's a way you clean the theater, there's a way you run around when you are circulating, there's a way you do things, because majority of people, they just walk around anyhow in the theater. Our surgical aseptics, they contaminate a lot of things. So improper training of personnel in the OR is one of the causes. Then wrong diagnosis, failure to sterilize equipment appropriately. This is very, very key. we are talking of surgical site infection, we are talking of patient advocate. All these things must be put in place. I want to put it to I want to put it towards that. How many facilities truly runs through surgical checklists to be sure we are doing the right thing, especially in terms of sterilizing equipment, especially the part of the world we find ourselves. Some people are still doing boiling method and they call it sterilization. So these are some of the causes. They may not always be surgeons, like I said, for error. For example, if a doctor recommend unnecessary surgery, or if clinic teams fail to sterilize the operating theater appropriately, like I said it already. So it's not the only surgeon. The clinic team are there, the anesthesia team are there, the technician are there. So surgical negligence is caused by human error and can be devastating consequences, and it can have devastating consequences. So it's a human error that is not something that, oh, this is machine, this is this and this is that. Of course, it could be machine, but it's we, the personnel working there, that will operate. It's failure to operate them in an appropriate way can cause a devastating consequence on our patients. So these are some of the causes of negligence in the operating room. So we should not have it at the back of our mind that, oh, it's only surgeon, it's only surgeon. We have a case of Peju Ogbonna, like according to literature in Nigeria, case of unfortunate and unprecedented acts of medical negligence in Nigeria. So let's look at the overview of medical negligence in Nigeria. So Nigeria is the failure to exercise standard of care. Negligence is the failure to exercise the standard of care. That is that a reasonable, prudent person will have exercised in similar situation. So negligence, when we say overview Nigeria, so failure to exercise standard of care. A majority of facility, majority of people, we don't even follow the standard of care. Everyone, we have SOPs, we have this and that. People just neglect and do anyhow. So failure to exercise standard of care at a reasonable, prudent person will have exercised in similar situation. So we must not wait until when we have our leaders in the theater or when we have our coordinator in the theater before we do the right thing. So it should be part of what we do every day. So this is what we actually need to work on. So I'm trying to just summarize the whole thing because of our time. So this can be as a result of an error in diagnosis, treatment, poor aftercare, or health management. We are still going to deal with more of this. That's why I'm trying to skip them. So according to a paper by Bisola Ogundare, empirical work by a research shows that 61.69% of Nigerian patients feels that medical practitioners in Nigeria are arrogant and careless about their condition and plight, especially nurses. They see us as arrogant, they see us as careless, and that's why it's very easy for anybody that can afford treatment abroad. They will say, no, I'm not taking anything in Nigeria. Those Nigeria medical practitioners, those Nigeria, they are very arrogant. They don't even care when you go to government hospital, this and that. And this is individual, because the way you attend to people, then they will begin to generalize it. So according to a research, it shows that 61.69% of Nigerian patients feels that we medical practitioners in Nigeria, we are arrogant and careless about their condition and plight. We didn't give ear to them when they are complaining. Then also 33.3% of Nigerian patients indicate that their doctor treatment has caused them extra injury that once beyond the ones which who took them to the hospital. That is, they would claim that, oh, it's only headache that I complain. No, now they say I have hypertension. They say this one is doing me, and we get a lot of that, especially in Lagos here. And that's why we say, you tell someone, oh, why don't you go to hospital? No, God forbid, if you go now, they will tell you it's this and that because they think that you are telling them to extort money from them. No knowing is what you have been. But because of this mindset they have, even if you are telling them the right thing, they will still think that no, it's because you want to get money from more treatments you want to give them. So we have what are the 6 category of negligence? We have good 6 category of negligence. We have failure to follow standard of care. I think we mentioned that earlier. Failure to use equipment in a reasonable manner, especially the OR personnel. We should acquaint ourselves to all the equipment in the OR. Then we should be able to use them accordingly. Then failure to communicate. Failure to communicate. Communication in the OR is very important. It can cause a life. It can cause irreversible damage. All team members should work in one spirit, and we should always communicate with ourselves. So failure to communicate is one of the categories. Then failure to document. There's a saying that says you want to hide some important information for black men, hide it inside the book. So most of us we don't document. That's why you say, I've been doing this, I've been doing this, I've been doing this, I've been doing that. Okay, what have you shown to do to what do you have to show to say that you've been working? We face to document, and the doctors are very smart. When a nurse work and do this and do that, you just see them. They will sit down at their base, reconstruct your whatever you've done, and say, okay, this is done. But nurses will never do that, especially in terms of maybe in operating room. And that's why most of the time when you say, okay, you work in the theater as a nurse, what do you do? You just give instruments. It goes beyond that. What do you do in theater? Oh, I'm a cleaner. It goes beyond that. What do you do in theater? I'm an anesthetist. Oh, it goes beyond that. We are all working towards the same goals of the surgeon. So failure to assess and monitor most of the time is very key. We should assess our patients, whether you are anesthetist, whether you are cleaner, whether when just have sight of what is happening. Oh, even as a cleaner, they can call you to witness. Like, oh, when they move the patient in, were you sitting at the corridor? Were you at the lobby? Were you this and that? What can you say? Then, so at the receiving end, maybe you are the one receiving patient, both anesthetist team and the nurse. We should always assess and monitor our patient. And failure to act as a patient advocate. That's why I say that the main goal of everyone in the operating room is to act as a patient advocate. We have the same and common goal together. So we have type of medical negligence. I'll just be brief about this. So number one, we have misdiagnosis. So when we don't give a proper diagnosis, maybe we are not, it's part of negligence. When you are just maybe you're about closing and you want to go home quickly, especially let me use Lagos for example. The traffic will start by 4 and you are closing by 4. A patient just walk in, and by 3:55, patient walk in. You want to rush in 5 minutes to hand over to the next person, just get something clerked. So we do wrong clerking, and that will lead to misdiagnosis. So this is very dangerous. And even as a nurse, you are handing over by 4 patients, the admitted patient in your ward, maybe 3:40, and for you to do everything, your nursing zero. The same thing with everybody in the OR. Surgical negligence, this is pertinent to surgery most time. You know, some of the risks or some of the mistakes made by the surgical team in the theater, it's very common then. I think I remember while I was growing up, majority of people are afraid of surgery because there's a belief that when you have a surgery, they must forget something inside you. Either they forget instrument or gauze. So these are being on Nigerians, in the mind of Nigerians and some people, that oh, the moment they are going for surgery, they must forget. So surgical negligence, maybe they forget objects in a patient or wrong area. I've heard a lot of story about amputating the wrong side. So and it's due to negligence of all the surgical personnel. So we have a lot of that. Then the third one, we have anesthesia. So this as a result of improper application or failure to monitor how it is impacting the patient. When you give anesthesia, some people, especially the anesthetists in the house, please, when you give your drug, you are the one that give your drug, you know what you give. It's better you monitor. And let us always remember that body system reacts differently. You can't say, oh, I've been using propofol since 1949. This is how it works. It might react different in another person's body or body system. So let us have that mindset, or you are an anesthetic technician, even as a nurse. So it's our responsibility. So we should do proper application and proper monitoring. Then the fourth one is prescription and medication error. This is very, very key. That a thousand of prescriptions are written and dispensed each day, and in rare case, error can occur. So this can occur, anything can happen. Then long-term negligent treatment. Maybe we have as a medical personnel, we fail to monitor the impact of treatment properly, or we did not schedule follow-up for a patient. Medical negligence can take place. If a patient is going home, it's our right to follow them up. And as we all know that the care of a patient does not end at the point of discharge. The care of patient end at the point when they come for follow-up and they are fully discharged home. So if they have another follow-up, we keep following up. That's why they say nursing job or medical job is continuity. You cannot finish it. So long-term negligent treatment. So then negligent medical advice, maybe especially I want to sound a note of warning for us here. Let us watch our environment. I've been in an hospital that a cleaner is advising patients on what to do. So, and when a patient comes with different diagnosis and with different problems, they'll be telling patients of another thing because they feel that because they've been around. So every personnel in OR must know their duty. You must not carry out the duty of a doctor. You must not carry out the duty of a cleaner. And when we are talking of medical advice in terms of maybe surgical, so and that's why we have pre-visits, and instead an anesthesia team will go, anesthetists will go, the surgeon will go, the nurses will go. So we should always be on the same page. Then the eighth one is mental negligence. That one is already poorly surgical performing or is diagnosed or inadequate patient care in dental care. Then negligent cosmetic care, especially now that we have increase in the cosmetic surgery now in Nigeria. We should be very, very careful. So those are the 9 types of negligence, surgical negligence. So we have duty, responsibility. We have to as a OR personnel, what's our responsibility that we owe to a patient. Number one is duty to provide adequate counseling. We have to provide adequate counseling. Then duty to warn patient of the likely side effect of treatment and risk thereof. These are saved. I know this particular statement I made has saved a lot of people, save their life, save their license and life. Then duty to carry out proper diagnosis, duty to administer proper treatment, duty of emergency medical service, and duty to obtain consent is very important. At the point we have general consent, we have surgical consent. So we have to do this. And the last one is duty to respect privacy and confidentiality. Even if it's your twin brother, the duty you have is to respect his privacy and confidentiality. Don't be telling your twin brother, you are telling your twin brother is you are telling Idowu, yeah, our brother is no. If he did not permit you to do that, don't do that. So any breach in mentioned above duty will amount to breach of duty of care owned to a patient. So some example that can give rise to medical negligence. We have good example here: failure to refer a patient in good time, because especially in private facility, you want to make money and you are delaying the care. Or in OR, you know that okay, and this patient needs this is before we can do this, let's get this done. Maybe a patient walks in as an aesthetist, okay, because you want to cancel the case, you are looking for away instead of you to make a proper referral. So failure to refer a patient in good time is an example that can give rise to medical negligence. Then making a mistake in treatment. I've said is like carelessness that results in termination of pregnancy, prescribing the wrong drug, taking off the wrong lips, and so on and so forth. Then incorrect diagnosis. This is coming up again. Failure to communicate treatment, effect, or risk, and this one we've talked about it before. Retention of objects in the operation site is part of the type of surgical negligence we discussed. Then failure to attend to patient or give prompt attention. Most time patient will be calling on nurse, doctor, anesthetist, I need this, I need that. Even at the on table, some patient will ring alarm. Oh, it's because let's give them proper attention. So and it's very key. So and most time we ignore them. It shouldn't be. We should give our patient proper attention, knowing that we are advocating for them. Then incompetent assessment of patients. Some people just do it just briefly because they are incompetent. Because and some people just copy. Let me just copy. You have to properly assess your patients from head to toe, and that's why we have a lot of a lot of guidelines in this. So then improper administration of the injection. This is another thing that can give rise to medical negligence. So these are the things that can say we do that can give rise to medical negligence. So and let's go to liability. Liability is just legal responsible for something. It's the state of being legally responsible for something. So liability is talking about law. You are legally responsible for something. You are the one that we can hold. You are the one that commits this offense. Okay, you are the one that we are looking for. You are the one that we link this offense to. Okay, you are the only one that we can trace this thing for. So you are legally responsible for something. So we say a person or things whose presence or behavior is likely to put one at a disadvantage. That's another thing. Then liability usually means that you are responsible for something, and it can also mean that you owe someone money or services. You can see I both be services, like because in OR will provide services. So we can say liability is that we are responsible for owing our patients services. Now, what do we mean by medical liability? Is a liability is a form of liability. You understand that for damage inflicted to a patient by a health service provider. So it's the what you are paying back, or you are paying back for the damage inflicted on the patient. And I want us to cast our mind that I said for us to be accused of being negligent in our duty. One, we must have a duty. There must be a breach of duty. Then we talk about damage and causation. So this is coming that as a healthcare professional, you understand the damage you inflict on a patient. So you must pay for it. That's just a simple thing. In comparison to criminal responsibility of a physician, civil law liability of health service provider, that is medical, is more important because of the number of cases and financial impact of damages on the healthcare system throughout the world. It keep on increasing. I want us to go to do our research. If you search today, you will see the number of lawyers on the internet that are calling people to come and access service for free. They will tell them if you are suffering for this, if doctor treat you bad, if you do this, come, we are going to attend to your case without collecting money, because you know how much they will make at the end of the day. So medical liability attract attention, both health caregiver and lawyer, because of the amount of damage paid to patient. You understand, I've experienced in the facility that even the children of the man know, and they even verbalize that, oh, these people try, but things change and the man died. So the following day, the people they came, the people that have been praising the hospital and what's it called, the workers, and because the man undergone a surgery, so and they say they want to sue the hospital because of what? So it was overhead that maybe because they want to collect money from these people and they want to claim some. So these are the people we are dealing with. So we have to be very, very careful because the patient can just laugh at you today. Tomorrow you just see them. We've been joking now, we've been family, but there's no family, you understand? They will change everything. So that's why we have to be responsible in discharging our duty. And these legal people are going up and down. They are just going to and fro to look for who to charge. So and that is this aspect. I'm just going to summarize and conclude very soon. A health service provider will be held liable only if conditions of civil law liability are met. And there's some civil law liability, like the service provider that okay, until when this condition has been met, when they see that okay, you have a duty, you have a breach in that duty, you cause damage and the causation. So that is when they will be holding person liable for what he has committed. This is the consequence of the fact that in most jurisdictions in the world, medical liability is not a special form of liability. So I'll just summarize this page that damage inflicted to patient is the condition of liability that which trigger liability, but it is not sufficient to produce liability. So most of the time when we talk about medical liability, we only look at okay, they didn't even consider what I've been doing for them. Is that small mistake that they are waiting, especially when you have a boss that every time he will just take his eyes off what you have been doing well. The only time you make a mistake, that's when they will hold on to you. So it's just that's why I would say every day of our practice, we must do the proper and the right thing. So and we have hospital management liability. So, and apart from the liability of medical practitioner in their individual capacity, a hospital may also be liable for negligence, especially because hospital they because most of the time they can actually expand the whole story, and it's due to someone mistake that the hospital will pay for whatever reason that happened. So this development has given rise to liability of hospital either direct or vicariously for act or so the direct liability for negligence will arise where hospital has failed to provide an environment and facility that will facilitate safe treatment of patients. For example, this will arise where equipment which are expected to be available are not available or are not functioning, leading to harm, injury, death of a patient. So we have a lot of leading. So that's why we have to be very careful when a mistake is being made, it keep on expanding. It will get to hospital money, it will get to hospital, the ministry will take it and like that, like that, like that. So at the point you might not even have excuse again. So and we have to do that's why I would say one of those reasons is that how to handle medical equipment is very important. Sometimes the equipment might be functioning, but due to the personnel cannot operate it, it can cause a lot of so direct liability is that hospital fails to provide environment facility that will facilitate safe treatment of a patient. So we have an example here, a non-functional ambulance. Maybe at the emergency, we have to make a quick referral. Maybe a patient is having falls into labor in our facility. We cannot have that risk of going straight to the operating room. So we have to transfer, but the ambulance is not functioning on unhygienic condition. Most hospitals these days, if you enter, the smell, the everything is upside down. They are not hygienic. Even some operating room, if you enter some operating room like this, you feel like going back. The blood has been stinking for days. A lot of, especially in terms of waste disposal, So these are the things that we should actually take care of: non-maintenance of medical record and transmission of infection, among others. So these are the things that we can actually say the hospital is liable for. Then vicarious liability, on the other hand, will arise where the hospital is being held liable for act, omission, or failure of its staff in the discharge of their responsibility in the hospital. So this view was well expanded by law. So like, I don't want to go there because of our time. So, but when we say vicarious liability, is that the hospital is being held because of your own mistake. Don't let me say because of someone's own mistake. Like I said earlier, it's someone's mistake that will lead to expansion of cases. So because of that simple negligence, so hospital will be held responsible and they are going to pay for you. And you know what happened afterward now. So because you've caused this and that, okay, you at the end of the person will have to lose the job or say, okay, for this period of social period of time, you have to pay back. So it's a lot. One will say medical. Then I just want to briefly say how much compensation. This is I try to look at Nigeria. I did not see any Nigerian record like saying compensation for claims, negligence claims. Like you do something, so you can see if you can see injury to internal organ ranging from 60,000 pounds to 100,000 pounds. I know someone mind will be like, this is money in naira. So um that's what we can see. Knee injury, you understand? Then if our negligence leads to death, see, is about 12,000 to 300,000. That's a lot of money. So you can see the reason why in the UK or in the US or other part of the Western world, even some part of Nigeria now, that anything that happened to a patient, even if the family are not ready to do anything, the family lawyer will insist because they know that this is how much they will gain. So this is just to give us a clue that your single moment of mistake, nonchalant attitude, I don't care attitude can actually cause someone to be a billionaire. So this is very key. We need to be very, very careful. So, and these are just things that need to open our mind because, and for example, in Nigeria now, I think majority of facilities have not been, they've not been, some of them always escape. So, but if you go to other part of the world, like UK, US, when you are practicing, your mind, your brain, everything has to be working. So surgical negligence and liability in operating room is very, very, very sensitive area that we need to actually look into. So, and the amount of compensation is usually directly proportional to the extent of injury that is. So, and this is another thing we need to see, that the extent of the injury caused. So, in conclusion, it is imperative that Nigeria are fully informed, that Nigerians are fully informed of their legal option for pursuing claims against careless medical professionals. So now, is maybe 10 years ago, we can say, they don't know anything. When a patient comes to hospital, before you do, a patient will tell you, I've read about it now, appendix, is this and that, is this, they say is this. You say you will be surprised when they are giving you the meaning, the pathophysiology, the signs and symptoms, and so most patients, they read a lot now and they know their rights. So they are fully informed now. And when they are fully informed, they are ready to take action. So certainly, if a medical professional are held accountable for their negligence action, the standard of treatment may improve in Nigeria. That's just it. Like I said, most facilities have been escaping it. So we have to improve. We have to improve. And majority of facilities need to do more. So I pray that in our practice, every time of our every day every of our day-to-day activity, I just want us to have this at the back of our minds. Before the last screen, the amount of compensation, just always put it at the back of your mind that instead of me losing this money to a case or because of my negligence, let me even use it to invest more in my career. Because now people are well informed about their health in Nigeria. Because these days, it might even be year after what the damage has happened. You just see them coming. They know how to track it. They know how to track you whatsoever because you are registered with professional bodies. You are this and that. So it is easy to do that. So as I'm rounding up, and we have, okay, these are the reference, and I think, okay, these are the reference for, I'm still going to send the presentation to the group. I'm sorry I'm rushing because of the emergency I have at work. And okay, thank you everyone. And if we have question, I think we'll move to the WhatsApp group. Thank you everybody.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adewonyi Manuel. Thank you. Such an educative session. Thank you very much, sir. God bless.
Thank you.
And well done, sir. Thank you for coming despite your busy schedule. Thank you. We really appreciate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adewonyi. That was a brilliant presentation. I think you very, very loaded. like you very, very loaded. It was detailed. That is exactly what I mean. It was detailed. You covered every aspect from beginning to the end. It was literally bringing back all the memories. So you've done a great job despite your busy schedule. So well done and well done. Thank you.